These reptilian human hybrids are the driving force behind most of the systemic cruelty and wickedness on Earth. The use of mind-controlled sex slaves, the international child prostitution business, sexual slavery and torture, international drug trafficking with its concomitant miseries, genocide, human experimentation, chemtrail spraying ad nauseum are all spawned from the reptilian mind. When one studies the reptilian mind, horrors such as occultic rituals involving human sacrifice and the horrendous and systematic sexual exploitation of women and children becomes understandable. These wicked attributes are imbued into their manipulated humans, the world over at all strata of society. The result is a worldwide smorgasbord of human misery and suffering. Understanding the Reptilian Mind by James Barley. Dr. Richard Boylan, amongst others, is a host for a reptilian entity. Make no mistake about it. I have lost count of the number of websites placed on the internet by reptilian hosts. There is a new one that was put in place quite recently. On the March by James Barley. Sai Baba is a reptilian human hybrid, and if someone practiced or practices his meditations, you should hurry to take out his influence by energetic healing. I have done this with people and the evil influence was quite obvious. Alien Influence by Franz Erdl. The reptilians make full use of what American military war colleges refer to as a force multiplier. In this case, it is mayhem, sexual predation, ritual murder and genocide by proxy. Rather than go to the trouble of manifesting in full physical density and having to individually rape, torture and perpetrate genocide upon countless humans, the reptilians manipulate individual humans as well as entire societies and nations to do the work for them. Understanding the Reptilian Mind by James Barley. The reptilian host that my friend shared an apartment with brought into my experience a woman who was literally demon-possessed. I referred to her as demon-infested Deborah. Demon-infested Deborah brought unimaginable amounts of grief and misery into my life. Demon-infested Deborah was possessed of the most crudest, perverse and vulgar characteristics imaginable, and she was the hypnotherapist of the reptilian host support group. She called herself an alchemical hypnotherapist whose mission in life was to deprogram people. She should have started with herself. Only a reptilian host could have found someone like her. In fact, some of the most whacked out and confused people I've ever met were in that host's support group. Demon-infested Deborah now resides in a suburb outside of Atlanta, Georgia. Do we have any volunteers who are willing to submit to a hypnotic regression by someone who is literally possessed of multitudes of troublemaking spirits and who has the most feces-oriented behavior imaginable? Any takers? And if you do not believe in demonic possession, you are merely revealing your ignorance, because it's a given in many societies and cultures in the world except this one. I identified at least 5 different demons inside of demon-infested Deborah, at which point I stopped counting. My only crime as regards my treatment of the reptilian host and demon-infested Deborah was that I loved him unconditionally, did not judge them, and did everything in my power to help them overcome whatever challenges they may have had, but I may as well have tried to stop a tidal wave with my bare hands. It is simply not in the base nature of reptilian beings and demonic entities to repay your kindness with anything other than sheer grief and misery. On the March by James Barley. I'll tell you another thing about some of these X-Factor abductees. Some of them can literally see the reptilian image superimposed over other abductees or RESEARCHERS. If someone can develop something akin to alien photography that would allow us to photograph the reptilian entity overshadowing the host and put the pictures up on the internet, I guarantee you some paradigms would be shattered. On the March by James Barley. The abductee community would be aghast at how numerous these hosts are and how pervasive is their malign influence upon the lives of abductees. On the March by James Barley. The reptilians are paraphysical beings who can alter their vibrational density to operate within the confines of our three-dimensional world, both in and out of the normal visual spectrum. The reptilians can manipulate the human, dreamscape, and install all manner of conditioning and programming, much of which is erotic or perverse in nature. They specialize in manipulating one's dreamscape with erotic imagery specifically designed to promote certain behaviors and alternative lifestyles within a given abductee population. I know of no one else besides our team who is even aware of this very basic and pervasive reptilian programming agenda. The definition of the word lifespan, as we understand the term, does not apply to these reptilians who live in their own vibrational density long enough to manipulate countless generations of a given genetic soul matrix population in our dimension. The reptilians are master geneticists who have created subservient races of non-human beings to act as specialists tasked with furthering certain agendas directly impacting the human race, including but not limited to genetic and soul matrix manipulation of the abductee population. It is through the latter program that hosts are created through apparently normal human childbirth. These reptilian hosts are geared to sow confusion, discordance, and disinformation amongst the abductee population. On the March by James Barley. Personally, I believe one could control political leaders more easily with implants. Now, if they wanted to use one of their own souls, although some would debate whether these reptilians have souls at all, other than the astral entities possessing them, Brandon, perhaps to inhabit the body of the politicians and work full-time through it, that could be done. Perhaps they could simply take the soul out and stick another soul in. They have the ability to retrieve what we call the soul, to store it in a container, and to put it back into another body. They can put it in any body they wish. Interview with Carla Turner, PhD from Contact Forum, May June 1995. The reptilians promote the use of certain methamphetamines, in particular, crack or crystal methadone, in order to better control and, in some cases, to ultimately utilize the abductee as a host. The latter types of amphetamines have a sympathetic resonance to the reptilians and some of their gray workers. Why do you think alcohol has been referred to for centuries as spirits? Because prolonged use opens doorways, which allow discarnate entities the opportunity to enter into the auric field and physical body of the drinker. This is why truly sensitive people feel like bathing after they step into a dive bar for even a few minutes because of the discarnate entities clinging onto the auric fields of some of the dive bar patrons. This is why I have my shields up during the infrequent times I attend UFO conferences and lectures, because I don't feel like having my energy drained by the parasitic entities that have attached themselves to some of the conference junkies who keep attending lectures and conferences in the forlorn hope that someone else will explain their own reality to them. If you've ever wondered why you feel exhausted or why your knees are wobbly after an abductee support group or UFO lecture, you needn't wonder anymore. On the March by James Barley. It is very complicated, but basically there are four main versions or groups of the New World Order, all with slightly varying agendas. The first group comprises the US and Western Europe, i.e., England, Germany, France, and the US. The second group is Eastern Europe fused with Western Europe and the US. The third group is the countries of the Orient, and the fourth is the Middle Eastern Saudi Arabian elements and all the oil money. There are also off-world groups, aliens and future human Nazis types called Zardanians, reptilians, Greys and Dracos, who also have a hand in the NWO plans. For the time being, the old money groups of Europe and England have teamed up with die-hard Nazi factions, Jews and Americans, forming the group that has always been known as the Illuminati and affiliated secret societies. This large international group controls the media, police force, military, etc. The Illuminati is also part of the NWO plan, which includes members such as George Bush, Prince Charles, and other high-ranking people. As for the aliens, I think most of the alien Greys are either under the authority of or in collaboration with the reptilians, Dracos, and the Illuminati, based on some of my experiences and memories that are still returning to me. Some Grey groups are in conflict with the reptilian Draco agenda and are doing their own thing, human Grey hybridization programs, so to speak.